In a quiet city where respectability was just a mask, one man stood tall. He had no entourage, no armor, just a calm voice, a sharp mind, and a seat at the head of City Hall. He went to the park like anyone else. He followed every rule. He smiled. He listened. But some people don't want to see dignity. They see difference and they strike, a shove, a threat. A target painted not just on his back but on his family. He didn't yell. He documented. He built a case. And when the system failed, he didn't walk away. He walked straight into it. One confrontation sparked a citywide reckoning. One man's quiet resolve became a movement, and one truth rose through the noise: dignity doesn't flinch. Would you have stood your ground? Like, comment, and subscribe if you believe silence should never protect hate. The gentle hum of morning traffic set a calm rhythm as Alex Porter stepped from his modest sedan into the bustling heart of Lakeside City Park. Today, he wore a simple blue shirt and casual trousers, far from the tailored suits he typically donned for City Hall meetings. Even without the mayoral attire, Alex's confidence radiated quietly, a sense of authority that didn't need formal clothing to express itself. Alex preferred these low-key days. They reminded him of why he got involved in politics: to be among people, solve problems practically, and witness firsthand the impact of his decisions. The park was buzzing with life: a yoga class to the east, children's laughter echoing from a playground, dog walkers chatting leisurely. It was exactly how a healthy city park should look, full of warmth and diverse activity. Today's agenda involved an informal meeting with the city planners and community leaders to discuss improvements needed around the park. Alex felt strongly about accessible spaces, and this was one of his regular efforts to stay connected with ground-level concerns. He knew that many of the planners appreciated his proactive approach. It wasn't about photo opportunities or speeches, it was about authentic community interaction. As Alex approached the group gathered near a shaded pavilion, a familiar voice greeted him warmly. "Good morning, Alex, right on time as always." Sarah Mills, senior city council member and trusted ally, extended a friendly hand. Her graying hair caught the sun as she smiled warmly, always effortlessly composed. "Morning, Sarah," Alex replied. "Looks like we've got a full group today." Around them stood planners, several community activists, and a few curious citizens who wanted to have their voices heard. Introductions flowed easily. Alex was proud of the community he represented. They were active, engaged, and passionate about their city's well-being. Just as Alex began discussing plans for new lighting fixtures along the walking trails, his attention was diverted by a loud voice nearby. At first, he thought nothing of it. Parks were places where voices often carried, but then the tone sharpened, unmistakably hostile. Turning slightly, Alex saw a tall, broad-shouldered man approaching the group, his face flushed with agitation. The stranger wore an expensive-looking jacket, his gray hair slicked back with a sheen of arrogance. Alex had never met this man before but quickly recognized the type, someone accustomed to being heard immediately and without question. "I've got a few questions," the man demanded abruptly, interrupting Alex's conversation mid-sentence. His eyes scanned the crowd briefly before settling uncomfortably on Alex. "Of course," Alex replied evenly, a mild smile on his face. "This is an open forum, feel free." "What exactly gives you the right to be here?" the man asked, his voice thick with disdain. It was clear he wasn't referring to the park gathering itself. Alex raised an eyebrow slightly but kept his composure. "Everyone's welcome here, it's a community discussion." The man scoffed, glancing dramatically toward the assembled group. "Community discussion, right. Funny how these so-called community meetings always seem to invite certain types." Alex felt a subtle tension ripple through the group. He chose his words carefully. "Our gatherings are always public. If you have suggestions for park improvements, we'd be glad to hear them." The stranger's eyes narrowed, clearly irritated by Alex's calm demeanor. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, yet still loud enough for the group to hear clearly. "Look, I'm talking about people like you specifically. We don't need your kind promoting your agendas around families." The statement cut sharply through the morning air, instantly changing the mood. A few uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alex could sense the unease around him, but he remained perfectly still, meeting the stranger's gaze without wavering. "Sir," Alex responded softly but firmly, "I'm not here to promote an agenda. We're discussing improvements for everyone's benefit." The stranger laughed bitterly. "Oh, I'm sure you think that, but some of us know better." Sarah intervened calmly. "Let's keep this respectful, please. Everyone is welcome here, as Alex has already mentioned." The man ignored her, stepping even closer to Alex. "Respectful? Do you even know what this man represents? He's exactly what's wrong with this city." A young city planner, visibly uncomfortable, tried to redirect the conversation. "Maybe we can continue." Stay out of it, the man snapped harshly, silencing her instantly. Turning his attention back to Alex, he continued, disdain dripping from every word. Do you really think anyone wants someone like you dictating what happens in our community? Alex felt his pulse quicken but kept his outward calm. Again, if you have specific concerns about our park or policies, we're all listening. If not, I'd appreciate it if we could move forward productively. The man sneered openly, clearly frustrated by Alex's composed response. Fine, let's talk specifics. Specifically, people like you shouldn't have influence around here. It's disgusting. Families deserve better. The air grew thick with tension. Alex briefly glanced around, noting several phones subtly recording the encounter. He knew the importance of documentation in situations like these, unpleasant, yes, but necessary. I understand you have your opinions, Alex replied gently yet with authority. But your behavior right now isn't appropriate for a public forum. Please step back and let's continue our discussion civilly. The man, now visibly angry at failing to provoke Alex, lunged forward aggressively. His towering figure loomed menacingly close, so close Alex instinctively stepped back slightly, mindful of maintaining space and preventing escalation. Or what? The man challenged bitterly. You gonna run and complain to your precious officials, think your little position gives you protection. A tense silence hovered. Alex could sense several people around him becoming nervous, shifting anxiously. He maintained eye contact, steadying his breath. I suggest you calm down, Alex stated quietly. This isn't how we resolve differences in Lakeside. Enraged by Alex's calmness, the man's next move was sudden and vicious. Without warning, he shoved Alex sharply backward, causing Alex to stumble and fall onto the hard pavement. Gasps erupted from those gathered nearby. Someone quickly rushed over to help Alex stand as the man stepped back, suddenly aware he might have gone too far. Alex rose carefully, brushing dirt from his trousers, pain radiating from his elbow and wrist. Sarah immediately placed a supportive hand on his shoulder, eyes narrowed toward the aggressor. You've made a serious mistake, Sarah said sternly. Do you have any idea who you've just assaulted? I don't care who he is, the man retorted arrogantly, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes now. Alex exhaled slowly, regaining his bearings. Despite the throbbing pain, he remained calm, turning to the aggressor with quiet authority. Well, Alex said softly, you should, because like everyone else here, I'm a resident of this community, but I also happen to be its mayor. An audible shock rippled through the group. The stranger's face drained of color, realization dawning in slow horror. The scene hung in silence. Alex stood tall, composed despite the ache from his fall. He knew this confrontation was only the beginning of a longer battle ahead. Yet in this uncomfortable silence, Alex Porter remained steadfast, determined to see justice, not merely for himself but for everyone in Lakeside City. His battle had just begun. News traveled quickly in Lakeside City. By evening, the encounter in the park had been shared thousands of times on social media, complete with video clips clearly showing Alex being shoved to the ground. The community buzzed with disbelief. Shock and outrage poured in from supporters who knew Alex's track record of professionalism and integrity. Yet despite the widespread sympathy, Alex remained cautious, knowing well how easily narratives could be twisted. Returning home after a tense afternoon at City Hall filled with concerned meetings and impromptu press briefings, Alex sought refuge in the quiet embrace of his husband, Ethan. Ethan's gentle demeanor had always balanced Alex's determined composure, offering quiet strength whenever challenges arose. As Alex entered their modest but cozy home, Ethan greeted him warmly, holding their adopted daughter, Maya, gently in his arms. Daddy, you're famous. Maya exclaimed innocently, unaware of the darker implications behind her excitement. Her bright eyes, innocent and curious, caused Alex to smile softly despite his weariness. Famous isn't exactly how I'd put it, sweetheart, Alex replied gently, kneeling to kiss her forehead. It's been a complicated day. Ethan studied Alex closely, clearly sensing the turmoil beneath his calm exterior. After dinner, with Maya safely in bed, Ethan finally asked the question weighing heavily in the room. What happens now? Alex sighed, sinking into the worn cushions of their living room sofa. We follow the right channels, we document everything. There's an official investigation starting tomorrow. Ethan's voice softened with worry. You don't sound optimistic. I've been in politics long enough to know it's rarely straightforward, Alex admitted quietly, even with clear evidence. Ethan nodded solemnly. Well, you have more allies than enemies, Alex. People see your character, they know you're genuine. Alex appreciated the reassurance, but deep down, he understood that battles against prejudice were rarely won with character alone. He'd seen good people get dragged through the mud, their reputations tarnished by whispers and falsehoods. It was precisely why he'd entered politics, to create a system that protected the vulnerable, that valued truth above influence. Now he found himself directly at the crossroads of idealism and reality. The next morning, Alex awoke early, knowing the city's tension would need careful handling. He dressed deliberately in his usual navy blue suit, finding comfort in the familiar ritual. Entering City Hall shortly after sunrise, he found Sarah Mills already waiting in his office, coffee steaming gently in her hands. "You never sleep, do you?" Alex asked warmly, gratefully accepting the cup she offered. "Sleep is overrated," Sarah replied lightly. Her expression turned serious as she sat down, eyes locked onto Alex's face. "We need to talk about Bill Carson." "Bill Carson," Alex repeated quietly, absorbing the name. Until yesterday, Carson had been a relative stranger. Overnight, he'd become a central figure in Alex's life. "Turns out he's not just a loudmouth from yesterday," Sarah explained cautiously. "He's deeply connected, owns several influential local businesses, and has substantial backing from powerful people. This isn't going to be simple." Alex leaned back in his chair thoughtfully. "What else do we know?" Sarah glanced down at her notes briefly before meeting Alex's gaze again. "Carson has a history. Nothing criminal that's been recorded officially, but he's repeatedly targeted LGBTQ+ individuals through his businesses, refusing service, harassment complaints quietly settled behind closed doors. Everything been carefully buried." Alex felt a familiar pang of frustration. He knew the type all too well, individuals who operated quietly, using influence to keep their prejudices hidden beneath a polished surface. "This explains the immediate aggression," Alex observed. "He's used to getting away with it." Sarah nodded solemnly. "You're not the first, but you're the first with enough visibility and power to challenge him openly. That's both an advantage and a danger." "Then we tread carefully," Alex decided firmly. "Document everything, build a solid foundation, ensure we have witnesses. But we also need to expose this broader pattern. If he's gotten away with it before, we have an obligation to bring it all out into the open." Sarah smiled, admiring Alex's steady resolve. "And we'll do exactly that, but be ready. Men like Carson fight dirty when cornered." As if on cue, Alex's assistant knocked gently, entering cautiously. "Mayor Porter, the news crews are outside. They're asking for statements." Alex straightened his posture instinctively. Of course, time to start setting the narrative clearly. Outside City Hall, cameras clicked noisily, microphones eagerly awaiting Alex's voice. He stepped forward calmly, aware of every nuance, every expression being recorded and judged. "I appreciate the community's concern over yesterday's unfortunate incident," Alex began, measured and steady. "What happened in Lakeside Park reflects precisely why our city must continue prioritizing diversity and respect. Prejudice has no place here." One reporter called out immediately. "Mayor Porter, have charges been filed against Bill Carson?" Alex maintained his calm demeanor. "An investigation is underway. We trust law enforcement will conduct a fair, thorough inquiry. Meanwhile, I encourage anyone who witnessed or has experienced similar events to come forward." Another reporter pushed further. "Mayor, how do you respond to claims that you're using this incident politically?" Alex smiled slightly, though it didn't reach his eyes. "My commitment to this city isn't political, it's personal. I'm dedicated to creating a lakeside city where everyone is respected, safe, and valued. That's my only agenda." After the brief appearance, Alex returned inside, feeling both relief and renewed tension. Already, he knew a storm was brewing. As he returned to his office, his phone vibrated sharply, an unknown number. Alex hesitated briefly before answering. "Mayor Porter speaking." "You're messing with the wrong people," came a cold voice, unmistakably Bill Carson's. "This won't end well for you." Alex's heartbeat quickened slightly, but he kept his voice even. "I won't be intimidated, Mr. Carson." "Then you're a fool," Carson snapped harshly. "This city doesn't want your kind leading it. You'll find out soon enough." The line went dead abruptly, leaving Alex staring quietly at his phone, heart heavy with the threat. He documented the call meticulously, knowing every detail mattered. Alex spent the rest of the day preparing statements, attending meetings, and ensuring every aspect of the investigation proceeded transparently. Through each moment, Carson's threat lingered ominously. Yet beneath his controlled exterior, Alex felt resolve hardening. This fight wasn't merely about his dignity or position. It was about exposing an entrenched system of quiet prejudice that harmed others silently. By evening, he met again with Sarah and Ethan, discussing their next moves at home, away from public scrutiny. Ethan's unwavering support strengthened Alex, reminding him why it mattered so deeply. "You can't back down now," Ethan affirmed gently, gripping Alex's hand. "Too many people are counting on you." Sarah echoed Ethan's encouragement quietly. "He's right, Alex, you're setting a precedent. This isn't just about justice for yourself, it's about making sure this never happens again." Alex exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of their words. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. Carson was only the visible face of a much larger issue, but Alex Porter had never backed away from difficulty. With quiet determination, he resolved once again to meet the coming challenges head-on, ready to fight not merely for himself, but for every person in Lakeside City whose voice had gone unheard for far too long. The days following the incident passed in a blur of formal meetings, investigative sessions, and subtle but unmistakable pressure. As expected, Bill Carson wasted no time in launching his counteroffensive. He held impromptu press conferences at his businesses, painting himself as a misunderstood local hero targeted unfairly by political rivals. His words cleverly skirted overt hate, instead implying that Alex was manipulating the situation for sympathy and political gain. The city felt divided in a way Alex hadn't anticipated. Though support remained strong from longtime friends and progressive groups, a worrying number of citizens quietly aligned with Carson's narrative, whispering doubts about Alex's intentions behind closed doors. Meanwhile, Alex maintained his composure publicly. Privately, though, the tension was exhausting. Each evening after work, he documented the day's events carefully, compiling witness statements, news reports, and personal observations into detailed logs. The meticulous documentation felt both therapeutic and critical, preparing the groundwork for the inevitable legal battle ahead. One evening, as Alex sorted through his files at the kitchen table, Ethan gently placed a warm cup of tea beside him. "Take a break," Ethan urged softly, worry evident in his voice. "You've barely rested since this started." Alex leaned back, closing his tired eyes briefly. "If we miss anything, Carson wins. I can't let that happen." Ethan pulled a chair beside him, placing a comforting hand on Alex's shoulder. "You won't, but remember, you're not alone." Alex reached up, gripping Ethan's hand gently. He knew Ethan was right, he had allies. But he also knew that prejudice and power had ways of wearing down even the strongest coalitions. The next morning, Alex's phone buzzed early with a message from Sarah Mills. She'd arranged a private meeting with an influential local lawyer named Clara Roberts, a powerful advocate with extensive experience fighting human rights cases. Alex immediately understood Sarah's intention, building a legal framework that would stand firm against Carson's manipulation. Clara greeted Alex with a firm handshake, her piercing eyes immediately assessing him. "Mayor Porter," she began crisply, settling into her seat. "I'll get right to the point. Carson's strategy is textbook: discredit, distract, and intimidate. The good news is we've seen it before and we know how to fight it." Alex nodded solemnly. "What's our best course of action?" "We use Carson's own methods against him," Clara said, laying a folder on the table. "He's hidden behind institutional protection for years. Our priority is demonstrating a pattern. To do that effectively, we need evidence of previous cases, people he's silenced or intimidated." Alex hesitated. "What about backlash against them? These people are vulnerable." Clara gave a reassuring nod. "We proceed cautiously, keeping identities confidential until absolutely necessary. But without their stories, Carson controls the narrative." Alex exhaled deeply, accepting her logic despite his reservations. "All right, I'll start quietly reaching out through trusted channels." "Good," Clara affirmed, packing her notes carefully. "And Mayor Porter, stay strong. Remember, you're not just fighting Carson. You're challenging a broken system that's allowed his behavior to flourish. It won't be easy, but it's important." Inspired but heavy with responsibility, Alex left the meeting determined. Over the next few days, he discreetly began contacting individuals who had experienced discrimination at Carson's hands. Initially hesitant, one by one they cautiously stepped forward, sharing their stories privately. Alex assured each of confidentiality, promising protection and support should they choose to officially speak out. It quickly became evident Carson's discrimination wasn't occasional, it was methodical. People spoke of subtle threats, employment refusals, humiliating public confrontations quietly covered up by paid settlements. Each story deepened Alex's resolve. He saw clearly now, his confrontation in the park wasn't an isolated incident but a symptom of something far more systemic and insidious. Yet as Alex strengthened his case privately, Carson's public attacks intensified. In televised interviews, Carson portrayed Alex as overly sensitive, accusing him of exaggerating the park incident. Worse, Carson insinuated Alex was leveraging his identity for political sympathy. Alex carefully documented every public comment, recognizing the attempt to provoke an emotional reaction. Late one afternoon, Sarah entered Alex's office quietly, her expression grave. "We need to talk. Carson's supporters are getting aggressive. Someone's leaked your home address online, along with Ethan and Maya's names." Alex felt cold dread tighten in his chest. "Are Ethan and Maya safe?" "Yes," Sarah assured quickly. "Police have increased patrols near your home, but it's clear Carson's trying to frighten you. Alex clenched his fists silently, frustration simmering beneath his carefully controlled exterior. It's working. Sarah's voice softened. Alex, no one would blame you if you stepped back. He shook his head firmly. I can't. If Carson scares me into silence, everyone he's hurt stays silenced too. I won't allow it. As Alex drove home that night, the weight of his words pressed heavily upon him. Approaching his neighborhood, he spotted a small gathering at the street corner, waving signs. His heart sank as he recognized their message. Protect our families, recall Porter. Keeping his composure, Alex parked calmly, ignoring hostile stares as he walked purposefully toward his front door. Inside, Ethan was visibly shaken, watching the protesters through the window blinds. Maya's upstairs, thank goodness, Ethan whispered tensely. She doesn't need to see this. Alex wrapped Ethan tightly in his arms. I'm sorry it's come to this. Ethan's voice trembled slightly. I knew politics wouldn't be easy, Alex, but I never imagined this kind of hatred right outside our home. Alex tightened his embrace, steeling himself internally. They won't win, not like this. As days stretched on, Alex's calm defiance became widely recognized. Supporters quietly rallied, offering protection and solidarity. Community leaders publicly condemned Carson's tactics, demanding civility. Even media coverage, previously cautious, shifted sympathetically toward Alex. Yet despite this rising support, Alex felt drained by the relentless pressure. Each night brought restless sleep. Each morning required renewed strength. But with each passing day, Alex found unexpected determination in quiet moments with Maya and Ethan, reminders of why the fight mattered deeply. Finally, a crucial turning point arrived. A former employee of Carson's bravely stepped forward, prepared to share his story publicly. His name was Jesse Clark, a soft-spoken young man whose career had been quietly sabotaged by Carson's prejudice. Jesse's willingness to speak openly sparked a surge of confidence among other victims, strengthening Alex's growing case. Privately meeting Jesse, Alex felt deeply moved by the young man's courage. Are you certain you're ready for this? Jesse nodded resolutely, his eyes clear with conviction. Someone has to stop him. I'm tired of feeling powerless. Alex placed a gentle hand on Jesse's shoulder, understanding profoundly the risk and bravery involved. You won't be alone, Jesse. We'll stand with you every step of the way. As Jesse's testimony circulated, media attention intensified dramatically, amplifying calls for accountability. Carson's carefully crafted facade began to fracture under the mounting scrutiny, his responses increasingly defensive and erratic. Watching Carson struggle publicly, Alex felt cautiously optimistic, yet he knew better than to underestimate his adversary. Each evening, he still diligently documented developments, aware that the battle was far from over. Carson's influence ran deep, entangled in networks of privilege and power. Yet beneath the gathering storm, Alex Porter stood quietly resolute, preparing carefully for the next confrontation, determined to see justice prevail, not simply for himself, but for every voice Carson had silenced through prejudice and intimidation. As Jesse Clark's brave testimony gained attention, the narrative around Alex's confrontation with Bill Carson began to shift significantly. News outlets picked up Jesse's story, drawing connections between Carson's past discriminatory behavior and Alex's current battle. Alex sensed momentum building, yet he remained cautious. In Lakeside City, entrenched interests ran deep, and he knew Carson would soon strike back. Despite growing public support, Alex felt increasingly isolated in his personal life. Protesters occasionally lingered near his home, and the police presence, while reassuring, was a stark reminder of his family's vulnerability. Ethan tried to shield Maya from the tension, but their daughter, perceptive beyond her years, often asked uncomfortable questions. One evening, Alex found himself seated on the porch, quietly watching the streetlights flicker to life. Ethan joined him, passing him a jacket against the chill. Feels quieter tonight, Ethan observed gently. Calm before the storm, maybe, Alex replied softly. He paused, feeling a heaviness he rarely admitted aloud. Do you ever regret it, Ethan, my choice to be public, to enter politics? Ethan shook his head firmly. Never, you've always done what's right, Alex. That's why I fell in love with you. Alex smiled faintly, comforted by Ethan's quiet strength. They sat silently together, letting the peaceful evening offer brief respite. The following morning, Alex arrived early at City Hall to find Sarah Mills and Clara Roberts already waiting. Both women wore expressions of cautious optimism mixed with tension. Carson made his next move, Sarah announced bluntly. He's filed a defamation lawsuit against you and Jesse Clark. He's claiming financial damages. Alex's stomach tightened. Of course he has, it's predictable intimidation. Clara, calm but serious, laid out documents carefully. This isn't entirely unexpected. It's meant to drain your resources and scare other witnesses away. However, it also gives us a legal forum to publicly document Carson's behavior. So we use his lawsuit against him? Alex asked thoughtfully. Exactly, Clara replied. We'll file countersuits immediately, seeking a full investigation into his pattern of harassment and discrimination. Alex exhaled slowly, absorbing the strategy. It was risky but necessary. Let's do it. The lawsuit rapidly escalated public interest. Carson portrayed himself as the victim of malicious slander, using every media appearance to discredit Alex and Jesse personally. His narrative gained traction with his supporters, who rallied aggressively, painting Alex as divisive and politically opportunistic. Yet beneath Carson's aggressive facade, Alex sensed desperation. Carson's attacks grew increasingly personal, suggesting cracks forming beneath his carefully managed persona. Still, the tension weighed heavily on Alex and Jesse, who now found themselves central figures in a highly publicized courtroom drama. At home, Alex maintained a calm facade for Maya's sake, but Ethan saw clearly the toll it was taking. Alex worked late into the nights, carefully organizing evidence and strategizing with Clara and Sarah. Each detail was scrutinized, anticipating Carson's next move. Days before the first scheduled court appearance, a surprise visitor appeared at Alex's office. An older woman named Gloria Bennett stood nervously at his door, holding a thick folder tightly against her chest. Mayor Porter, she asked timidly, stepping inside cautiously at his invitation. My name's Gloria. I've worked for Bill Carson for 15 years. Alex listened intently, sensing the importance of her visit. Please have a seat, Gloria. How can I help you? She placed the folder on Alex's desk, visibly shaking. I know I could lose everything for this, but Carson has to be stopped. This is evidence. Settlements, harassment complaints, payments made to silence employees. It's all documented. Alex's pulse quickened slightly as he carefully opened the folder, scanning dozens of pages. The gravity of Gloria's courage wasn't lost on him. This will change everything. Gloria nodded, voice trembling with emotion. I'm ashamed I didn't speak sooner. I've seen too many good people hurt. Thank you, Gloria, Alex responded sincerely, deeply moved by her bravery. We'll protect you. You're doing the right thing. Gloria's evidence profoundly altered the dynamic of the case. Clara quickly incorporated the new documents into their legal strategy, strengthening their countersuit immensely. The tide was undeniably turning against Carson, who appeared increasingly rattled as the revelations continued. In court, Alex maintained an air of quiet confidence, careful to present himself calmly and professionally. Jesse Clark, bolstered by growing support, stood equally firm under harsh cross-examination. Gloria's testimony proved especially devastating, detailing years of systematic discrimination and intimidation carefully hidden behind Carson's respectable facade. As Gloria spoke clearly and steadily, the courtroom fell into stunned silence. Even Carson's lawyers seemed shaken, hastily scrambling notes. Carson himself sat visibly tense, his composure fracturing beneath public exposure. Yet Carson's response remained predictable: aggressive denials, character attacks, and emotional manipulation aimed at discrediting Gloria's credibility. But the cumulative weight of evidence, video footage from the park incident, Jesse's testimony, documented patterns of harassment, became undeniable. That evening, news outlets widely broadcast the dramatic court testimonies. Public opinion shifted dramatically, openly condemning Carson's actions. Even longtime allies distanced themselves from him, unwilling to defend the indefensible. In private, Alex felt cautiously relieved but knew the fight wasn't over. Carson's tactics might have weakened, but his resources and connections remained formidable. Ethan saw clearly the toll the battle continued taking on Alex, offering quiet reassurance and unwavering emotional support. Do you think Carson finally understands he's losing? Ethan asked softly, joining Alex after another tense day in court. Alex sighed deeply, choosing his words carefully. He's desperate now, and desperate people do desperate things. We can't afford complacency. Ethan reached out gently, gripping Alex's hand firmly. You're changing the city, Alex. Whatever happens next, you've already accomplished something important. Alex squeezed Ethan's hand gratefully. He knew Ethan was right. The impact of their battle already extended beyond Carson, exposing deeper systemic issues within Lakeside City. His determination grew even stronger, knowing the struggle was no longer just personal but a collective pursuit of justice and dignity for all. Days passed as court proceedings continued relentlessly. Carson's composure deteriorated noticeably, replaced by angry outbursts and poorly disguised panic. His once formidable legal team struggled under mounting evidence, their strategies failing spectacularly as more witnesses courageously stepped forward. Late one evening, Alex received another unexpected call from an unknown number. Answering cautiously, he immediately recognized Carson's unmistakable voice, though now strained and unsteady. "You think you've won?" Carson hissed bitterly, voice tight with fury. "You're destroying me over what? Political correctness? You'll regret this, Porter." Alex breathed slowly, carefully controlling his response. "I didn't destroy you, Mr. Carson. You destroyed yourself. You could have stopped at any moment. You chose not to." The line crackled with silence briefly before Carson spoke again, quiet and menacing. "Watch your back." As the call ended abruptly, Alex exhaled deeply, logging the threat meticulously, feeling both shaken and resolved. He recognized Carson's desperation but also knew threats weren't idle gestures. Yet Alex Porter wouldn't be intimidated. The community, the city he loved, deserved better. As Alex carefully documented Carson's call, he resolved once again to remain steadfast. His fight had begun as a personal confrontation but had grown into a broader struggle for justice and equality. With allies by his side, clear evidence in hand, and growing community support, Alex felt prepared for whatever came next. The storm wasn't over, but for the first time since the park incident, Alex could see clearly that justice might truly be within reach, not just for him, but for every voice Carson had silenced, every individual made invisible by prejudice. The tide was finally turning. Lakeside City seemed suspended in a quiet, anxious tension as the legal proceedings unfolded. While Alex continued to gain support, Bill Carson's network worked tirelessly behind the scenes, seeking ways to blunt the damage. Rumors flew, disinformation spread quietly online, and divisions lingered beneath the surface, feeding a toxic atmosphere of suspicion and resentment. Despite these pressures, Alex Porter's daily routine remained focused and disciplined. Each morning, he arrived early at City Hall, steadily carrying out mayoral duties between courtroom appearances. His calm demeanor reassured staff, even as they sensed the toll the situation exacted on him. One chilly afternoon, while reviewing city planning documents, Alex's assistant entered nervously, handing him an envelope. "This arrived addressed personally to you, Mayor Porter. It's marked urgent." Alex examined it briefly. Unmarked except for his name scribbled hastily, it felt unusually heavy in his hands. Thanking her quietly, Alex closed his office door before carefully opening the package. Inside were grainy, unsettling photographs clearly taken without his knowledge, images capturing Alex and Ethan in private, intimate moments around their home, at Maya's school, and even during brief family outings. A simple note, crudely printed, read, "Drop the lawsuit, resign your office, or these go public. Protect your family while you still can." Alex's hands trembled slightly, rage and anxiety intertwining tightly in his chest. This was no idle threat. It represented a desperate escalation, a violation beyond anything he'd anticipated. Immediately, he documented everything carefully, photographing the package and its contents before contacting Sarah Mills and Clara Roberts. Meeting privately that evening at Clara's office, Alex shared the disturbing photographs silently, anger and frustration clear on his face. Sarah, visibly shaken, stared quietly at the images before speaking slowly. "Carson is panicking. He's crossing lines he can't walk back from." Clara, thoughtful but calm, nodded solemnly. "We need to involve the police immediately. This goes beyond harassment. This is direct intimidation and blackmail." Alex sighed heavily, exhaustion evident in his expression. "My biggest concern is Ethan and Maya. How much more of this can I expect my family to endure?" Clara placed a reassuring hand gently on Alex's shoulder. "The community sees your integrity clearly. If Carson leaks these images, he'll only discredit himself further. But your family's safety is paramount. We'll have police increase their protection immediately." Alex agreed, though the weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon him. Returning home that evening, Alex discreetly discussed the threat with Ethan, quietly shielding Maya from its troubling details. Ethan absorbed the information silently, visibly shaken but steadfastly supportive. "We knew Carson would fight dirty, Alex. Don't let him use us to weaken your resolve." Alex embraced Ethan tightly, grateful for his strength even as he quietly wondered if he could protect them adequately. As days passed, the lawsuit's momentum intensified. Witness testimonies continued painting an undeniable portrait of Carson's long-standing discriminatory behavior, each revelation further dismantling his credibility. Yet privately, the threat of the photographs lingered ominously in Alex's mind. Then came another unexpected development. Early one morning, Alex was summoned to City Hall urgently. Arriving swiftly, he found Sarah waiting anxiously alongside two police officers. "There was a break-in last night," Sarah explained tensely. Your office was targeted specifically. Alex entered slowly, heart sinking. Papers were scattered chaotically, filing cabinets forced open violently, drawers emptied aggressively. His meticulously compiled evidence against Carson had vanished completely. Only personal items remained untouched, a clear message about the intruder's intentions. The senior officer addressed Alex firmly. We'll do everything possible to identify who's responsible. It's clearly related to your ongoing case. Alex nodded grimly, understanding Carson's tactics clearly. The intimidation had escalated dramatically, underscoring Carson's desperation. Yet Alex refused to back down. His commitment had grown stronger, bolstered by a deepening sense of justice for all those Carson had harmed. Public outrage erupted rapidly once news of the break-in spread. Community groups gathered to express solidarity, condemning the blatant attempt at sabotage. Jesse Clark and Gloria Bennett spoke publicly again, emphasizing their determination to see justice served despite increasing pressure and threats. Alex's quiet resilience earned growing admiration across Lakeside City. Even previously neutral citizens expressed dismay at Carson's increasingly aggressive methods. Local newspapers harshly criticized Carson, highlighting his dangerous desperation openly. Yet the personal cost mounted silently for Alex. Nights grew sleepless, his thoughts dominated by anxiety for Ethan and Maya's safety. Each day required greater determination to remain calm publicly, carefully masking his internal turmoil. One evening, after another exhausting day, Alex received a message from Clara Roberts urging an immediate meeting. Arriving at her office late, Alex found her and Sarah deeply unsettled. "Bill Carson's about to make a public statement," Clara explained tensely. "He's claiming you orchestrated everything, portraying himself as the victim of your political ambitions." Sarah, visibly frustrated, added bitterly, "It's classic manipulation, attacking your integrity because he's losing publicly." Before Alex could respond, Clara turned on a news broadcast where Carson stood confidently behind microphones, voice measured but filled with practiced indignation. "Mayor Porter has used his position to falsely accuse me," Carson declared forcefully. "These allegations are nothing but lies, a political stunt designed to destroy a respected citizen and business leader. I refuse to be silenced or bullied by his personal agenda." Alex clenched his fists silently, anger simmering quietly beneath his carefully controlled expression. Carson continued sharply, "Tonight, I demand Mayor Porter's immediate resignation. If he refuses, I promise the people of Lakeside City the truth will come out." Clara switched off the television, turning solemnly toward Alex. "This is desperate. Carson's playing his last card publicly, but expect a brutal few days ahead." Alex exhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the moment acutely. "Then we'll confront him openly. If he insists on public confrontation, we must expose his true face clearly." Over the following days, Alex carefully coordinated a strategic response. He scheduled a press conference, meticulously prepared statements, and gathered support from prominent local leaders. He knew Carson had underestimated the depth of Lakeside City's integrity and resilience. On the morning of the conference, Alex stood confidently outside City Hall, flanked by Jesse, Gloria, Sarah, Clara, and other prominent supporters. Cameras clicked rapidly as he stepped forward, the weight of the city's attention squarely upon him. "Bill Carson's recent claims represent desperation," Alex began firmly, voice clear and steady. "Today, I stand not just for myself, but for every person Carson has ever silenced through intimidation. I have documented every threat, every attempt to discredit me, and those brave enough to stand up against him." Alex paused briefly, gaze steady and unwavering. "Today, I publicly share evidence of threats against my family, harassment, sabotage, and blackmail, actions undertaken to silence the truth. Lakeside City deserves transparency and justice. We will not be intimidated." Jesse and Gloria spoke briefly but powerfully, their courage resonating deeply with the assembled crowd. Alex watched with quiet pride, recognizing the turning point clearly. Carson, confronted directly by overwhelming evidence and public outrage, responded erratically, further damaging his credibility. Even loyal allies distanced themselves rapidly, unwilling to defend his behavior publicly. As Carson's influence crumbled visibly, Alex quietly felt relief amid exhaustion. The battle was far from over, but a critical threshold had been crossed. He knew the coming days would remain challenging, yet he stood determined, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. His fight had transformed into something larger, a struggle not merely for personal justice, but to safeguard Lakeside City's integrity, dignity, and future. For Alex Porter, there was no turning back now. In the aftermath of Alex Porter's public stand against Bill Carson, Lakeside City's atmosphere changed dramatically. Carson's carefully built image of respectability shattered, replaced by a wave of public scrutiny that left him isolated and exposed. Yet Alex understood clearly the resilience of entrenched prejudice. Carson's desperation made him unpredictable, dangerous even, and Alex knew better than to underestimate a wounded opponent. Despite the outward signs of victory, tension continued to simmer quietly beneath Alex's composed exterior. The threats, the intimidation, and the sense of personal violation lingered. Ethan did his best to maintain normalcy at home for Maya's sake, but Alex saw clearly the strain etched in Ethan's expression each evening. One morning, as Alex entered City Hall, he sensed immediately something was amiss. Staff moved cautiously, exchanging quiet glances. Entering his office, he found Sarah Mills pacing anxiously, phone clutched tightly in her hand. "What happened?" Alex asked immediately, closing the door behind him. Sarah hesitated briefly before speaking. "Bill Carson was arrested last night, Alex. He confronted Jesse Clark at his home. It got physical." Alex's stomach dropped, heart racing with immediate concern. "Is Jesse all right?" Sarah nodded quickly, relief clear in her voice. "He's shaken but safe. Carson showed up drunk and enraged. Police intervened swiftly. Jesse's neighbors witnessed the entire incident." Alex exhaled slowly, deeply troubled but grateful Jesse was safe. "This changes everything." Carson crossed another line. Sarah sighed deeply. "Yes, but he's dangerous, Alex. This isn't just political anymore, it's personal and violent." Alex agreed solemnly, carefully absorbing the implications. "We need to ensure Jesse's protected, along with Gloria and anyone else vulnerable. Carson's unraveling, but he could still harm someone else." That evening, Alex personally visited Jesse, finding the younger man visibly shaken but determined. Jesse recounted quietly how Carson had banged on his door, threatening violence, accusing him loudly of ruining his reputation and life. "I honestly thought he might kill me," Jesse admitted softly, trembling slightly. "But I'm not backing down now, not after everything we've been through." Alex placed a supportive hand gently on Jesse's shoulder. "You're incredibly brave, Jesse. Carson's actions will finally force accountability. You've helped change our community profoundly." The incident accelerated official action against Carson. Criminal charges swiftly followed: harassment, assault, witness intimidation. Carson's businesses distanced themselves rapidly, eager to protect their own reputations. Once a respected local figure, Carson now found himself publicly vilified, unable to hide behind privilege or power any longer. Yet Alex knew systemic accountability required more than Carson's personal downfall. The institutions that enabled Carson's behavior had to be held accountable too. Working closely with Clara Roberts, Alex pushed vigorously for internal reviews and reforms within city departments, businesses, and community groups previously aligned with Carson. At first, resistance emerged predictably, quietly from bureaucrats and business owners uncomfortable with scrutiny. Yet Alex remained steadfast, patiently advocating transparency and justice as cornerstones for healing Lakeside City's deeper divisions. Gradually, resistance weakened, replaced by cautious but genuine engagement. Alex's quiet persistence earned widespread respect, even among those initially skeptical. Ethan watched proudly, knowing clearly how deeply Alex cared, not just about personal justice but systemic change for the entire community. Meanwhile, Carson, facing substantial evidence, found his legal options dwindling swiftly. His trial became inevitable, prompting further community discussions about discrimination and accountability. Carson's fall from grace became symbolic, a cautionary tale illustrating the dangers of unchecked prejudice and institutional complicity. The night before Carson's formal arraignment, Alex sat quietly at home with Ethan. Maya slept peacefully upstairs, unaware of the struggles her family faced. Ethan studied Alex carefully, sensing the emotional toll quietly building. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Ethan asked gently. Alex smiled faintly. "Ready? Probably not. Determined? Absolutely." Ethan reached out, gripping Alex's hand firmly. "You've changed the city, Alex. You've shown courage under impossible pressure. Whatever happens tomorrow, your impact matters deeply." Alex sighed softly, gripping Ethan's hand gratefully. "I hope it's enough." Morning came swiftly, and Alex felt a familiar calm settle over him. He dressed deliberately, choosing a formal suit carefully, recognizing the symbolic importance of his presence in court. Arriving at the courthouse, Alex found an unexpectedly large crowd gathered, media teams stationed eagerly nearby. As Alex stepped forward, applause erupted spontaneously, a powerful acknowledgement of his quiet courage and resilience. Jesse Clark stood near Gloria Bennett, both appearing determined despite visible nerves. Sarah and Clara stood close, offering steady support. Alex felt humbled, deeply aware of the trust placed upon him by so many. Inside the courtroom, Bill Carson appeared visibly diminished, arrogance replaced by muted defiance. Alex sensed clearly Carson's awareness of defeat, though Carson's anger lingered bitterly beneath his controlled facade. The trial proceeded meticulously, prosecutors presenting clear evidence linking Carson directly to harassment, threats, intimidation, and violence. Jesse and Gloria's testimonies resonated profoundly, drawing sharp condemnation from attendees. Carson's defense, weakened dramatically by overwhelming evidence, offered little resistance, reduced primarily to attempts at minimizing his actions through emotional appeals. Late in the trial, Alex himself took the stand, carefully detailing every threat, every attempt Carson made to silence him, documenting how Carson's actions impacted his family and community profoundly. Alex spoke clearly, calmly, voice steady with quiet dignity. In closing arguments, prosecutors eloquently emphasized Carson's deliberate abuses of power and influence. This case isn't simply about one incident, they argued powerfully. It's about holding accountable someone who believed privilege granted immunity from consequence. The judge adjourned briefly before returning solemnly with her decision, declaring firmly, Bill Carson's actions represent a pattern of harm, intimidation, and prejudice unacceptable in this city or society. Justice demands accountability. Carson received substantial criminal penalties, including significant fines, probation, mandatory counseling, and permanent restrictions barring him from any public or civic influence. Carson's visible shock turned swiftly to rage, voice trembling bitterly as police escorted him away. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed rapidly, capturing Alex's composed relief clearly. Reporters clamored eagerly for statements, microphones thrust toward him expectantly. Alex spoke deliberately, addressing the crowd firmly but respectfully. Today marks a significant moment, not merely personal justice but community accountability. Lakeside City chose integrity over intimidation, transparency over secrecy. We confronted prejudice head-on, and now we have the chance to heal together. Applause erupted spontaneously again, powerful and affirming. Alex stepped back quietly, allowing Jesse, Gloria, and others to share their perspectives. He felt exhausted yet deeply proud, recognizing the importance of the victory achieved. Returning home quietly that evening, Alex embraced Ethan tightly, finally allowing himself to feel true relief. "We did it," Alex whispered softly, feeling the weight of the months-long battle slowly easing. Ethan smiled warmly, holding Alex close. "You did it, Alex. You never gave up, despite everything Carson threw at you." Alex felt profound gratitude toward Ethan, Jesse, Gloria, Sarah, Clara, and every ally who stood beside him courageously. The fight had begun with personal confrontation but transformed into something larger, a collective pursuit of justice, dignity, and community integrity. Late that night, as Ethan slept peacefully beside him, Alex reflected quietly. Lakeside City still faced many challenges ahead. Healing required patience, perseverance, and unity. Yet today marked a critical victory, clearly demonstrating what determination, dignity, and truth could accomplish against prejudice and intimidation. For Alex Porter, Carson's downfall represented not simply vindication, but hope for a city that could face uncomfortable truths courageously, emerging stronger, fairer, and more inclusive. His struggle had been painful, exhausting, even frightening, but Alex knew deeply. It mattered profoundly. Lakeside City was forever changed, and he had played a crucial role in making that change possible. In the weeks following Bill Carson's sentencing, Lakeside City began a gradual but undeniable transformation. The scandal, trials, and public confrontations had left deep marks, yet now amid the lingering shadows, seeds of meaningful change took root. Alex Porter felt these shifts keenly. His daily routine slowly returned to something resembling normalcy, yet he knew he would never be quite the same. He still carried the quiet vigilance born from threats to his family and the bitter taste of personal attack. Yet beneath this cautious exterior, Alex felt a growing sense of pride and optimism. Carson's downfall had become a catalyst, a call to action for Lakeside City, inspiring unprecedented openness in addressing prejudice, harassment, and institutional bias. At City Hall, reforms progressed steadily. Departments reviewed policies rigorously, training increased, and accountability mechanisms strengthened. Sarah Mills spearheaded many initiatives, her quiet determination earning respect from colleagues who once resisted her calls for greater transparency. Clara Roberts remained an active ally, ensuring legal frameworks solidified these reforms permanently into city statutes. Yet Alex knew meaningful change wasn't confined merely to official policies. It was deeply personal, rooted in community trust and human dignity. This conviction inspired him to launch community forums encouraging open dialogue about discrimination, inclusion, and systemic change. Each meeting attracted larger crowds, diverse voices speaking candidly, sharing painful experiences openly, and expressing collective determination never to tolerate prejudice again. One particularly powerful evening, Jesse Clark spoke eloquently before a packed hall, voice steady but emotional. "I almost stayed silent," Jesse admitted honestly. "Fear nearly silenced me, but seeing Mayor Porter stand firm gave me strength. We changed something important together. We showed prejudice loses power when confronted openly." Applause filled the room spontaneously, a shared acknowledgement of courage, vulnerability, and collective commitment. Alex felt deeply moved, recognizing clearly the profound ripple effects of standing firm despite personal costs. Gloria Bennett attended these forums quietly, often accompanied by others who had similarly faced discrimination privately. Her presence offered silent encouragement, validating countless others quietly seeking courage to speak openly about their experiences. Despite this progress, Alex recognized clearly how much work remained. Occasionally, anonymous threats surfaced, reminders prejudice didn't vanish overnight. Alex documented each carefully, refusing intimidation yet recognizing vigilance remained necessary. At home, Ethan noticed Alex's slowly returning ease. Their evenings once again held moments of simple joy, shared dinners, Maya's bedtime stories, quiet conversations about hopes rather than fears. One peaceful night, sitting together quietly on their porch beneath gently rustling trees, Ethan smiled warmly at Alex. "It's good seeing you smile again," Ethan said softly. "It feels like we're finally reclaiming something." Alex nodded thoughtfully, gazing quietly toward distant streetlights glowing softly through the neighborhood. "We've changed, Ethan. This experience forced us to grow." Ethan gently squeezed Alex's hand, "And we're stronger because of it. Our family's resilience means everything." Alex felt deeply grateful for Ethan's steady presence, recognizing clearly how profoundly their shared strength sustained him through hardship. Weeks later, Alex announced publicly his intent to seek re-election as Lakeside City's mayor. The decision felt natural, deeply aligned with his growing determination to continue guiding the city's progress. The announcement drew widespread community support, symbolizing collective trust and validation of Alex's leadership. Election night arrived swiftly, a vibrant evening filled with community gatherings and eager anticipation. Alex stood beside Ethan, surrounded warmly by friends, colleagues, and allies who had supported him unwaveringly. Jesse and Gloria attended, smiles bright with hope and camaraderie. As results confirmed Alex's overwhelming victory, cheers erupted spontaneously, filling the room with joyous celebration. Yet Alex felt quiet humility, deeply aware of the trust placed upon him again by Lakeside City's residents. Approaching the podium confidently, Alex addressed the enthusiastic crowd clearly, voice steady but emotionally resonant. "This victory isn't mine alone, it belongs to all of you," Alex began sincerely. "We've endured hardship together, confronted painful truths courageously, and emerged stronger, but our work continues. Together, we will keep building a city defined by dignity, inclusion, and justice for everyone." Cheers erupted powerfully, affirming collective commitment. Alex stepped back humbly, allowing others, including Jesse and Gloria, to share their own reflections briefly, symbolizing clearly the city's shared progress and future. In the following days, Alex renewed his efforts vigorously, ensuring reforms deepened and expanded meaningfully across Lakeside City. Policies strengthened, protections solidified, and resources increased significantly, providing practical support for anyone confronting prejudice or discrimination. Yet equally vital remained quieter interpersonal transformations. Alex observed these shifts profoundly. Strangers exchanging smiles warmly, neighbors engaging openly, conversations previously avoided now happening respectfully and candidly. Each small moment signified deeper healing beneath Lakeside City's surface divisions. Months later, during another community forum, Alex spoke briefly but powerfully about this gradual transformation clearly unfolding throughout their community. "Change isn't easy," Alex acknowledged openly, "yet each courageous step we take matters deeply. By speaking openly, challenging prejudice directly, and standing firm together, Lakeside City can become a place where everyone feels safe, respected, and valued." Applause filled the room spontaneously, affirming collective commitment clearly. Alex felt profoundly humbled, recognizing deeply how his personal struggle had transformed into something larger, a powerful catalyst driving positive change throughout Lakeside City. Privately, Alex remained vigilant, quietly documenting any ongoing threats or concerns carefully, refusing complacency even amid genuine progress. Yet he also allowed himself quiet optimism, acknowledging clearly the substantial changes already achieved collectively. One gentle evening, months after the turmoil finally quieted, Alex and Ethan walked slowly together through Lakeside City Park, the very place where Alex's confrontation with Carson first erupted. Now peaceful again, families played contentedly, children laughed happily, couples strolled hand in hand beneath softly glowing streetlights. Pausing quietly beneath tall, leafy trees, Alex reflected deeply upon everything experienced since that fateful morning clearly etched within memory. Do you regret it? Ethan asked softly, following Alex's thoughtful gaze toward the park's open spaces filled again with joy rather than tension. Alex shook his head gently, voice quietly reflective but resolute. Never. It was painful, exhausting, frightening even, but worth it completely. Lakeside City needed this confrontation. We needed this honesty to heal truly. Ethan smiled warmly, understanding clearly Alex's profound commitment. You made a difference, Alex. Everyone sees it clearly now. Alex exhaled gently, feeling genuine peace finally settled deeply within him again. We all made this difference, Ethan. Change requires collective courage. I simply played my part. Together, they continued strolling quietly, feeling gratitude for renewed tranquility finally returning fully to their lives. Beneath their gentle footsteps, Lakeside City's park symbolized vividly the community's resilience, once scarred by confrontation, now clearly healing, vibrant, and thriving again. For Alex Porter, his journey hadn't simply resolved personal injustice, it catalyzed deeper, lasting transformation clearly reshaping Lakeside City profoundly. Yet he recognized fully the ongoing responsibility inherent in progress, remaining vigilant, courageous, compassionate, and committed unwaveringly toward justice, dignity, and truthfulness for all. His fight had begun personally but ended collectively, uniting Lakeside City around core values clearly reaffirmed by shared struggle and resilience. Alex Porter knew deeply. His city's brightest days lay clearly ahead.